Good evening and a warm welcome from me to you and joining the event Careers in Marketing. My name is Sabine Geller and I'm a senior lecturer in marketing at the Lincoln International Business School. And today's event is to discuss the skill set needed for the modern marketer, while we're highlighting different careers pathways from local SMEs up to global companies. The idea for the event came about while talking to our final year students who have been a bit disheartened by the current situation and they didn't know what to do after university. So the aim of the event is really to spread the positivity during these challenging times and also broaden the perspective of all the different marketing career opportunities out there for students. So we have invited various speakers, also Lincoln International Business School's alumni, who will tell you what they have done after university. So let's start with a short round of introduction. Rachel.
Hi there, my name's Rachel Mabe. I wear a number of hats, but this evening I'm here. I'm the chair of the Chartered Institute of Marketing here in the Midlands, so I'm here in that capacity with you this evening.
Hello, I'm Amy Wallis. I'm a previous graduate of the University of Lincoln, and I'm currently the founder of Marketing Limited. So I don't quite wear as many hats as Rachel, but I'm still bringing a lot to the table, I'd like to think.
Hello, my name is Amelia Chambers. I'm Marketing and Communications Manager at St Barnabas Hospice.
Hi everyone, I'm Nicole Fiore. I am a graduate of Lincoln as well, graduated last year, and I'm a marketing management trainee at L'Oreal.
Hi, I'm Lucy Robinson. I'm a digital marketing executive for ISEA in Lincoln, and I graduated from the University of Lincoln last year.
Thank you all to the wonderful speakers for joining us this evening and bringing a broad range of experience to us today. So, and we want to inspire the next generation of marketers. That's the reason why we're here. So to give you a bit of overview about the structure for today, each speaker will have a 15-minute presentation slot, and this is followed by a short Q&A, so we can take 2 or 3 questions. Therefore, I encourage you, if you have any questions, please post them throughout the presentations and afterwards. We will close the event with a panel discussion looking at the modern marketer and the skill set needed. So we're also happy to take any questions you may have around the marketing career. And thank you again for joining us this evening. So our first speaker is Rachel Mabe, Senior Lecturer in Marketing at the Montfort University and also Chair of the CIM Chartered Institute of Marketing Midlands Board. Thank you, Rachel. Over to you.
Thank you. So I'm hoping you can all see my slide. My cat has just come to keep me company. I feel like I need to show you all him in case he jumps onto my keyboard. He has a tendency to do that at the key moment. I'm really thrilled to be with you tonight here. I'm just going to check that this is actually working. My screen feels like it's frozen. Oh, you can see that, brilliant. This is me at the beginning of lockdown when my hair was a little bit shorter. I've been working now in marketing for over 20 years since I graduated from Loughborough University and wear a number of different hats really. I'm involved in a number of different roles. I still do work for an agency in Leicester, a digital agency. I was formerly a copywriter and marketing strategist and now spend most of my days teaching lovely students like yourselves and also working and really advocating on behalf of the Chartered Institute of Marketing. And I'm really such a fan of the CIM, and I know you will all be familiar with the work that the CIM do as students at Lincoln University. But I'm a real advocate for what they've really done for my career. I really feel that by getting my professional marketing qualification, that really allowed me to really explore different areas of marketing. It gave me a little bit more confidence, and it enabled me to really finally end up in the role I am now, where I'm lecturing in the field. It's really hard in 15-20 minutes to try and tell you about marketing and what you are doing and won't be doing, but I'm starting off from the kind of viewpoint that I know when I first told my parents I wanted to go into marketing, they didn't really understand what it was, but there were lots of perceptions of what it might be. And very often still, if I tell people that I lecture in marketing, that I work in marketing, I think there is a natural kind of conclusion of what that role is. But actually, as a heads up, and probably as students in marketing, you'll know it by now, that unfortunately you don't get to do as much kind of selfie taking and chatting on social media as you might like to do. But I do think it raises a really important kind of question, and you might not be able to see the slides so well on the screen here, but ultimately I think there's a real kind of discord between what a marketing role is and what other people think that you do. And I don't know if any of my colleagues on the panel have similar kind of similar experiences of what people think your role is and actually what you actually spend a lot of your time doing. But I can categorically say, in the number of different roles that I occupied within marketing and PR, I definitely didn't spend all of my time on social media. I mean, I don't want to admit that I started my career really before social media became such a huge platform, but you won't be spending all of your time on social media. Sadly, you don't get to spend all of the company's money. Sales is very different to marketing. You don't spend your days colouring stuff in, and you're certainly not just winging it and having ideas in the spur of the moment. It is much more considered than that, as I'm sure you're all very aware. One thing I thought I would introduce you to this evening, because I still feel that many people maybe aren't aware of it, is that there are professional marketing competencies. So the Chartered Institute of Marketing, they have created a few years ago what they felt were professional competencies that all people working in marketing should be aware of, and maybe would have and again, on the diagram that you can see in front of you, right in the center in the blue, they identified core skills. So if you're thinking about the core things that you might want to know about going into marketing, the CIM say it's all about insight, it's all about understanding your customer, and it's about being able to put a strategy together. There's then a whole wheel of different other skill sets and personal skills around this. The CIM distinguished them as technical and behavioural skills. It is really unlikely somebody's going to come along and have all of these skills. But what you can see from that is that there are a number of very distinct core technical and behavioural skills that professionals in the marketing world are it is hoped that they will have. These are all available on the CIM website. I've linked to them, and I'm hoping you'll get a copy of the slide deck after the talks this evening. But that's maybe a really nice area to start if you are worried and thinking about, what do I need to have, what do I need to know? Another kind of very common question that I get asked from parents at university open days is their jobs, will my child get a job at the end of their degree? And I'm really happy to always say absolutely. Some research that the CIM did a couple of years ago found that, what we already know is that marketing is a major contributor to the UK economy in terms of both the jobs that exist within the sector and in terms of the revenue it brings. We know that marketers' roles themselves open up markets, both here in the UK and internationally. And it's really makes a really substantial contribution to the UK economy, and it's estimated that it employs around 415,000 people. Career routes tend to take, and I tried to kind of formulate this into my own experience, that career routes seem to take three main directions. People tend to opt for more of a scientific route, perhaps looking at research and development and segmentation and research type roles with analytics and metrics. You maybe are more find creative roles more appealing in terms of branding and advertising, or perhaps more humanitarian type roles in terms of cause-related marketing, sustainability, and being a responsible marketer. So they would be the three kind of areas that I think that jobs tend to exist in. In terms of the skills that you might find that you need, I think you'll know from your university experiences that research and analysis is just the key, isn't it? If you don't know about your market, if you don't understand your customers, then it's really a game changer. So understanding your market, being able to research and understand your customer, I think that's, for me as well, what makes a marketing role really exciting and interesting, because whichever client you're working for, you immerse yourself into that world and you become an expert in topics and subjects that you didn't imagine perhaps at the beginning of your career that you might. marketing models that you're learning at university will undoubtedly give you some confidence, and you will be using them in your career. Segmentation, targeting and positioning, the marketing mix, some of those classic marketing models, you will definitely use them. Maybe not in the way that you're using them right now, but you will definitely be using them. And really being sure that you're kind of keeping on top of current trends in the marketplace. And that's a real, and Sabine will tell you, as a lecturer in marketing now, it's really hard keeping up with everything that's going on and making sure that what we're teaching is right, because it's such a dynamic and disruptive industry. For those of you who love to be organised, who love a spreadsheet, who, you will plan to plan, you'll dream about planning. I've worked with colleagues who were far better at planning than I was. I feel like I'm organised, and then many people I've worked with over the years have just taken it to a whole new stratosphere. But really, that's why the research is so important, because it really helps to inform and to plan. And that also will help you through your career, that being good at research, being able to see opportunities actually is a really good thing career-wise. I think the average life cycle for a marketing role is around 2 years. So it's a really kind of, we expect to see quite a lot of movement. And so hopefully planning will open the doors for you in terms of work and opportunities within the company you might be working for, or with other agencies and people that you're working with. We also expect, and I see this a lot with students that I teach, we talk about creativity, and I feel that we maybe, if I had more time, I'd really like to unpick that a little bit, because I very often think it's a common thing to feel like we're creative, but actually being creative from a marketing perspective is a slightly different kind of, a slightly different skill, and it is much more technical still than I think we credit it for. But most marketing roles, there will be an element of creativity and communication that comes into play. You'll promote your brand and product to your target market. You'll be an advocate for your company. You'll really get to know everything about that company. You'll communicate with a wide range of stakeholders. You'll communicate with your staff. You'll communicate with customers. It's a really varied and interesting role. And you'll have lots of different things to learn. And I think that's a really kind of important thing to remember with marketing. It is such a dynamic industry. It is changing so rapidly that actually we are all on a constant learning journey, and that never stops. Listening and reviewing, you'll need to really understand your success and your failure. If you ask any of us on the panel tonight if we've had any failures, I hope I'm not the only one that will definitely confirm that there have been failures along the way. And in marketing, it is very much about learning from what has worked and learning from what hasn't worked and trying to make sense of that. You'll be expected to report useful information. You'll really need an eye for detail and for picking things up. And you'll also need to know a lot of legislation. I know students, I think, are often surprised at how much regulation, whether it's GDPR, whether it's advertising regulation, the Data Protection Act, consumer legislation. There's a lot of regulation, there's a lot of legislation in the sector, and you'll need to make sure that you can kind of stay on top of all of that. So I guess, and I'm sorry, I've kind of gone into supersonic speed, I think. I'm very conscious we've got lots of other really interesting and wonderful people to talk to you this evening. A few tips I would say to watch out for is that when you graduate, you don't stop learning. And I think that is the really important thing. And that's really, for me, where the CIM kind of came into my own personal journey. It's really important to stay on top of your learning. There's always new things emerging, new things to learn. And I think even if you do end up taking quite a specialist role, it's really important that you understand the wider roles, all of the areas of marketing, so that you can keep your options open. Strategic theory, whether you're a graduate, whether you're studying, whether you're in your career, strategic theory will always be useful to you. And it will always, I think, there will be things I've learned that at the time I may be questioned, and then 6-7 years later, I suddenly got it. So, it can, the learning really does kind of come with you. I think you need to be organised. That seems to be a kind of trait in marketing that is really important. And don't be afraid to challenge and ask questions. And really, the most important advice, I think, to give you would be to connect with people in the field. You know, connect with people that you that work for organisations that you think look interesting. Connect with alumni. Connect with people that are working in the Lincolnshire community, and really try and start making some contacts and making some noise. I've got a question slide, and I'm more than happy to take questions. I would just like to make you aware that in the CIM, in the Midlands here in Lincoln, we have got a really active and exciting CIM community. We'd love for you to join us. We have a LinkedIn page and a Twitter handle, a Twitter feed. We'd really love to get graduates and people at Lincoln, students involved within our community, helping us provide content for our social channels. We've also, as I'm sure Sabine has told you, got a Graduate Gateway Marketing Club, and there are monthly online events at the moment. The next one is in a couple of weeks with all about developing customer insight. So that's something to for your radar, and you are very welcome, because I've just told you about making connections. You would be more than welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn. You just have to search for my name. So yeah, thank you so much for having me tonight, and I hope that even a couple of things I've said maybe help, maybe resonate with you a little bit. And if you want to ask any questions, then please do fire away. I'm more than happy to answer them.
Thank you, Rachel. Very interesting presentation, looking not just at marketing skills, but at business skills in general, at organization and planning and so on. So you mentioned marketing is a very disruptive industry, and it's very dynamic, changing constantly. So my question would be, so how do you stay on top of all the new developments?
Yeah, it's really hard, isn't it? And I don't think there's a magical kind of, there's not a quick fix for that. I think it's having access to the right information and making sure that you make time to kind of keep up to date with that information, and having, you know, organisations like the CIM or the IDM, great marketing resources, Marketing Week. Really, you know, making sure, using LinkedIn to make sure that you kind of really stay on top of what's going on and what's happening. And it remains a challenge, doesn't it? And certainly some of the more technical aspects of digital are really tough to stay on top of. But I think it's having some discipline to keep learning and to keep kind of making time for that.
Absolutely, I can just agree. A marketing career is a learning journey, and we shouldn't just stop learning after finishing university and engage further. So there are many events out there, and you have just mentioned the CIM Gateway webinars coming up, which are free for everyone to attend. You don't have to be a member. So these are good ways to keep up to date with knowledge and learn something new.
I think that's been one of the few positives of the pandemic, actually, in terms of having opportunities. You know, online events have become so much more accessible, haven't they? And, you know, easier to, you know, and I think that the Marketing Club, you know, this is the first year it's run in this way, having these virtual events. So yeah, I think it's definitely worth looking at those, particularly that you think might help with assessments, or you're just interested in the topic. It's an opportunity to chat to people in industry as well. So yeah, they're really good.
Yeah, and the networking aspect of it. So it's not just your professional network, you can also extend your personal network in getting to know your peers and other people in the industry, which might be helpful later on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think sometimes you use the term networking, and I see a lot of my students and they look terrified at the idea of networking, and I'm with them. I think, you know, I always want to learn and talk to people and meet people, but the minute you say go and network, I feel something strange happens to me and I can't really formulate words anymore. So for any students who feel a little bit like that, it's really, you know, look at it in a slightly different way. And, you know, most of the professionals that I kind of interact with on that, you know, and who come to my university and talk to students, are so happy to kind of answer those questions and share their knowledge. And I often think that you're worried that you'll ask the wrong question or do something wrong, but you honestly won't. So if any of you are listening and think, I feel terrified at that, please don't be, because, you know, it's if you don't ask the question, then you know, you'll be more frustrated, I think. So do make sure you kind of take the opportunities where they're available.
Yeah, and I can just second this. Always ask the question, otherwise the answer will always be no. And another wise man just told me I should ask the question more than once as well in order to get an answer. God bless as well. Thank you so much, Rachel, for your presentation and the insight. And what we have seen here, so it's a changing phase of marketing. It's very dynamic, and there's still people out there thinking we are the coloring in department, which needs to change. So we have also the responsibility to educate others what marketing is, from science to creativity.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And even just our own parents, because I think Amelia said her grandparents don't still quite get it. And honestly, my mum really still doesn't. She's quite kind of got university, but she doesn't really understand the other bit. And I feel really passionate actually that we should be doing more with schools and colleges to promote marketing. I don't think it's talked about enough at that level as a career choice. I think they're still default to kind of law and business and accounting, which are great professions, but I didn't learn much about marketing at school. So I think I feel very kind of passionate about making sure that young people know that it's a really valuable and, you know, really important sector, and there's lots of opportunities within it.
Yeah, thank you so much for today. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you.
And we will have Rachel back for the panel discussion later on this evening. I would like to invite now Amy Wallis, a former Lincoln graduate in marketing management.
Advertising and marketing, very close.
Advertising and marketing. I'm so sorry, Amy, but Amy has been around and is still around in Lincoln, and we're so grateful to have you here, Amy. Yeah, over to you.
Yes, thank you for having me. Hopefully my slides, here we go. Brilliant. So let's start the presentation. Bear with me a moment. Can everyone see this? I'm hoping you can see it. So, hello everyone, Careers in Marketing, Amy Wallis, founder and director of Marketing Limited. So, who am I? I'm Amy Wallis. I'm a University of Lincoln graduate, founder of Marketing Limited, an award-winning marketing agency. Also, the Lincolnite 30 Under 30. Co-founder of Voices of Hospitality, that's due to COVID, just to help businesses really get their voices out there. So for me, marketing is 24/7. I work harder and I play hard. I'm also the founder of Company Running, so I showcase my running journey in my trainers as well as running my company. I'm also a motivational speaker and an overall lover of life. So my journey. Sabine asked that I showcased my journey so far, just to show you how I've got to where I am today. So I started off as a hotel marketer and a silver service waitress. That was between 2012 and 2016. I then embarked on my journey with the University of Lincoln, and that's when I started my advertising and marketing degree, and that was between 2013 and 2016. Absolutely loved my journey, and as Sabine said, she can't quite get rid of me a few years on. I also carried out consultancy work whilst I was within this role. I worked for an internet marketing company between 2016 and 2017. And I then graduated with a first class honours and received the International Business School Award for Best Student in Advertising. So I based my dissertation on boutique hotels, and you can see why later on when I come into the actual business itself, we focus mainly on hospitality, but also a wide range of other sectors. So I left my role in April 2017. I didn't know that I would have my own business. I went with my gut instinct and felt like I needed to make a change. I wasn't quite on the right path, but I didn't know what the path should be. So I left my role and hoped that a bit of soul searching would put me on the right path. And it did. So I had my light bulb moment, May 2017. And from that, I embarked on the Growing Graduate Enterprise Scheme, Stage 1, May 2017. So this is through the Spark House building opposite the university. I then registered my company Marketing, June 2017. So you can see it all happened quite quickly. And I then embarked on the Graduate Enterprise Scheme Stage 2, again, very quickly compared to the first side. And I launched Marketing in October 2017. To be honest, it feels like yesterday. I still can't believe that it's been almost 3 years. After the launch, I feel like this is when my life really started. And that's when marketing is now a thing. See what I did there? So I was a virtual Spark House tenant between October 2017 and May 2018. I then pitched for physical Spark House office. Things were moving quite rapidly. I could see that I was going to take off quite quickly, and I felt like I needed to create those foundations to be able to then bring on team members. So I pitched for physical office, knowing that this is the foundation so that I can build the team. I was really happy that I was successful, and I moved into the office June 2018. Launched a job advert September 2018, and that's when Harry started, my first employee. So again, you can see it all happened quite fast. And Georgia started in December 2019. So we're now a team of 3, and we're now worldwide and award-winning. We would have been a lot further on than we are right now, but I think that's like a lot of businesses if COVID hadn't have happened. I've since given up the office and we're all working virtually, but I know in the near future we'll bring the office back into play and we'll build the team as well. So that just gives you a bit of an idea of where I started. Tips and skills. So I'm not giving specific skills here. As a marketer, founding my own business, I thought I would give you more practical skills. So Rachel, she went into more of the specifics, which is absolutely fantastic because it means I don't need to cover that as much. So I'd say if you're thinking of starting your own business, you really need to find your passion. So because this is a marketing online event, I'd like to think you're all into marketing. But within the marketing sector, you need to find what really drives you and what works best for you. If you're founding your own company, you need to be accountable to yourself. You need to be able to get up every day, no matter how tired you are, no matter how many long hours you've done, and be accountable and really love what you're doing. So make sure if you are founding your own business that you focus on the sector within marketing that really makes you tick. So for me, I'm obsessed with all of it, which means that we're a fully functioning business and we create all aspects of marketing. So decide the direction. Do you want to go straight into finding your own business or industry first? As I said, I never had a plan in terms of I will definitely have my own business. I set out as if I was going to have my work for other people, and then working for someone else, it made me realise, is this definitely what I want? But it was only when I left that I realised I wanted my own business. So Rachel touched on this about the networking and the LinkedIn, but you really need to focus on your personal branding and your own social media. Something that I wish I could have told myself when I was still at university, make sure you build up as many connections as possible. So after this talk, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn and you're straight away putting into practice what I'm teaching you now. Networking events, as Rachel said, it can seem quite daunting to a lot of people, but when you get there, when you push yourself out there, you'll get more used to it and it will become second nature. So I'd say whatever route you go down, whether it's a similar one to myself, you need to believe in yourself and your own abilities. It will definitely help studying at the University of Lincoln and managing to get those intellectual skills to then be able to project yourself on more of a professional level and more practical areas as well. So attend as many talks as possible. It's great that you're here right now because you're clearly open to adapting and growing. I'd say don't be afraid to ask questions. As Sabine rightly said, sometimes ask and ask again. No question is a stupid question. And I think the way I've been able to grow so quickly is I've never felt stupid in asking anything, because I know for a fact I'm still very young and I'm not going to know everything. So it's okay to ask other people and to grow. And follow people who inspire you as well. So you, as well as having your own internal drive and fire, it's good to be able to follow your favorite marketer, to follow the industry. As Rachel said, things are constantly changing. So you need to really have your ear to the ground, really see what's happening all the time, and that will help you project forward within your journey. And when, key point, when it gets hard, remember why you are doing this. So remember why you're doing what you're doing. Top 3 tips. So Sabine asked me to go more into my journey and then give you my top 3 tips. So finding my own business, there are so many tips involved. I could be here for days, but I'm conscious that we only have the 20-minute slot. So my top 3 tips. Number 1, never be afraid of change. Sometimes in the wind of change, we find our true direction. So the author is unknown, but I feel like this is a very powerful quote. And no matter what path you go down, whether it's similar to mine, whether you go down a more academic route or a route like the others are going to be talking about throughout this session, you need to make sure that you really stay true to yourself and don't be afraid of that change, because you can't progress in life without making that change. Also, another key point, so tip number 2, don't forget you are an extension of your brand. Being in marketing, as you know, the power of branding, the power of strategy, you can't just focus on the brand itself. So you can see that I'm very consistent throughout all elements of my life. Marketing, my company, you can spot the orange in the branding. Amy Wallis business, again, you can spot the orange, me holding an orange and also orange blazer. And then in my personal life, I also like to rock orange as well. So people have really started to resonate and attach oranges and the colour orange to my brand. So I'm not saying that you will need to go out there and purchase loads of oranges, absolutely not, but find something that's consistent throughout everything and you'll be onto a winner. And tip number 3, create your own wave in a sea of people. So this is my own saying, I'm really proud of it and I'm always shouting about it, but I think whichever path you decide to go down, you need to make sure that you're different to everyone else. And that might mean, you know, you don't have to shout the loudest, but it means that you have to create your own wave, because there are so many other marketers out there. And as Rachel rightly said, there is a lot of opportunity. You won't struggle to get a job, absolutely not, which is amazing for all of you. But I think make sure that you really stand out, because it means that you can get in with those bigger companies, or you can create your own business like I did. So feel free to follow my journey. Again, like I said, try and build up your connections now that you can. So you can follow me on LinkedIn and also Company Running, and just really start to think about the journey that you want to go down, the life that you want to create. You only get one life. And I think now is the time to be in marketing more than ever before. The pandemic has hit us all hard, and I think people are more appreciative of the digital revolution and the power of marketing as well. So really hit the ground running. Try not to feel disheartened if you've felt like your life's a bit different this year. We all have. I think really grasp it, grab it, and roll with it. And I'm here if you have any questions. So thank you for listening. Does anyone have any questions?
Hi, Amy. Oh, thank you so much for bringing positivity to us.
No
really.
problem.
And the orange really helps as well, I must say.
I'm glad you feel that way.
I would like to go back to your light bulb moment where you found your purpose and actually had the idea of creating your own business. So did you do anything special that day, or did it just come to you?
I wish I could say I did, because it would be so much more magical and it would sound like a story, but no, I didn't, to be honest, and I will only be honest. I just weighed up a lot of different options. I thought, I can work for someone else, I can start my own business, I can go down a completely different path. That one I didn't like the sound of. So I think, there's that key point of when the universe everything aligns. And I think that day, everything just slot into place. I loved hospitality. I'd worked in the hospitality industry and I was obsessed with marketing, and I felt I had the skills to be able to do that. So everything merged. And although I started off as a hospitality marketer, we've had so much demand and so many people have wanted to work with us worldwide, amazing, that we've actually spread out now. So we're not just in the hospitality industry.
Is it just great? And this just after 5 years graduating?
It's
oh
just,
my goodness.
just over 3 years. And with COVID, I almost minus a year.
Yeah, we can take this back. And you didn't grow a year older today as well, because we had lockdown birthday, right?
Exactly.
They don't count.
Exactly.
Amy, another question, because you have the company running, you're the founder and director of marketing. What about work-life balance when you're self-employed? Do you really have time to take time off?
Recently, I've been working very long hours. So I got into the flow of starting to have my full weekends off. But because we're growing so drastically and really exciting opportunities are coming our way, my average hour at the moment is, I did 22 hours in one day last week. So I did about 80 hours last week. And my average day at the moment is 12 hours, sometimes 16, 18, 22. So right now it's a very busy period of time. But I think even if you're severely busy, which we are at the moment, although we still have capacity, I think it's great to still have very strict barriers. So I am going to make sure this weekend, although we've got a lot going on, that I definitely have most of the weekend off, because you have to recharge yourself. Mm-hmm. So I think be very strict with yourself, because you have to have a life, definitely.
Okay, because when people hear about self-employment, they sometimes think, oh, so much work. But you said it's all depending on your purpose. So after you found your purpose, you actually want to get out of bed and want to get your hands onto the projects, right?
Exactly. And I think a key point, as you said, with the passion side of things, because when you're at the top as such, there's no one pushing you to succeed and to keep going, especially when you don't have a team behind you, which I'm very fortunate to now have. But you need to find what makes you tick. Otherwise, you just won't do it. It's extremely hard work and there are very long hours. So find something that you are obsessed with. And I'm lucky that it doesn't always feel like work for me, just because I love it so much.
Oh, that's great to hear. Actually, lecturing doesn't feel like work to me either, except for the marking. So we're taking this as a side. But just a tip here as well. In order to find your purpose, I heard storytelling is really important. So if you tell others about particular important aspects of your life, they find out a key connection, what you're saying, through various different scenarios, and this can help you to find your purpose. And I have one last question, Amy. During your journey, did you have a mentor alongside to help you growing from a single person business, employing 2 people and moving locations?
So because of the Growing Graduate Enterprise Scheme, I've always had that foundation of knowledge, because in order to be able to embark on that, we actually have a mentor within the process. So that was super helpful. I've also had a business coach throughout the process as well. She's now one of my very close friends. So I think not just that, Sabine, but it's a case of really not being afraid to ask questions. I know for a fact that accounting is not my strong point. So I was very quick to bring on an accountant, which when you become limited, you have to do that anyway with accounts. But I think don't be afraid to bring on people where it's not quite your strongest point. It's okay for other people to help you.
Absolutely. You can't do everything, and you should focus on what you want to do and which helps you. Obviously, you're learning throughout as well.
Definitely. I'm always learning, and I always will be.
And it's such a great thing to be on a lifelong learning journey and embrace new ideas from various industries. And it must be really exciting for you as well to work with various different sectors and learning what they're doing and just finding it re-energizing, I would even say.
It's incredible. And I think a key point as well with being self-employed is the sky's not even the limit. I mean, I'm dictating where I can end up because there's no limitation. So I think that's the really exciting part as well. Who knows where I'll be in 10, 20 years.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Amy, for spending some time with us. And we have you later on for our panel discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. So please allow me another marketing graduate for marketing and management, Nicole Fury, who just graduated actually last year. And Nicole is with us this evening and presenting her journey from university to L'Oreal. There you go. Thank you.
No problem. I'll just start the slides. I hope that's working because I can't see the main screen. So hi everyone, as has been said, I'm Nicole. I graduated from the University of Lincoln last year and I studied marketing management. So currently I'm a marketing management trainee at L'Oreal, which is the equivalent to their graduate scheme. So I thought I'd start as why I chose the beauty industry. I know it's typical for a girl to say it, but I love makeup, I love skincare, and that's always been my passion. And I really wanted to have a career that I was around people that shared that passion with me. You know, you can bounce ideas off people. So what better place for me to work than L'Oreal? They're the world's largest cosmetics company. And, you know, within the company, there's almost 40 different brands. So there's just so many opportunities. And I also kind of took the opportunity at uni to learn more about the beauty industry because as has been mentioned by everyone so far, marketing is all about learning. It's changing all the time from digitalization and, you know, COVID's really kind of moved that on even further. So I used a lot of I integrated beauty into my coursework. I used it as case studies to kind of do all my research. So it just made me kind of learn more when I was going to have to learn more about something anyway. So I started at L'Oreal as an intern on my placement year and I did trade marketing. So I hope I'm not the only one, but when I started, I really didn't know the big difference between the types of marketing. So for me, trade marketing was very new and it's all about B2B and it's driving selling to your customers, but also really like having strong relationships with them and building those relationships. So there's loads of different aspects and I could talk for ages, but a few key ones. Visual merchandising, so that, you know, you go into a retail area and you think the products are just kind of put randomly, but there's actually a strategy behind it, which you kind of don't realise. And it's all about what products you want to sell first, what products you want to be the main point of focus. And then also event planning and management. So that kind of was between B2B and B2C actually, which was really interesting seeing it from both sides. So I created event packs for our customers that they would then use for the consumers. And then also designing point of sale materials. So yes, a lot of people think marketing is just about making posters. It is part of it, obviously. And, you know, these are great for in-store, but also digital assets as well. And then competitor analysis, this is key as a marketer to stay on top of the market, stay ahead. You know, what are other people doing? And then reporting, more of the commercial side to trade marketing, but it's all about your targets, how are your launches performing, and field sales. So this was actually going out into the market, meeting your customers, going into their accounts and kind of making sure that what we were doing as marketeers was actually what they needed and how we could change it to help them perform even better. So a key project that I worked on was actually for QVC, which was one of our key accounts at the time. Quite a random one. I didn't realise QVC was such a big retailer, especially for L'Oreal. And I was given a target of sellout, and a consistent message. So at every touch point, branding needed to be super clear. What you were like communicating to consumers needed to be super clear as well. So I had the chance to work on a full 360 strategy, and it gave me so much insight to all the different areas of marketing. So again, set design, your visual merchandising, but also designing emails, so the more digital aspect of it, and then organising and filming Facebook Lives to get a kind of glimpse behind the social. So as a result of the 360 strategy, we got a sell-through of plus 22% the year before. So it just shows that as an intern in marketing, you can really learn so much. And then I took the opportunity to apply to the graduate scheme during the internship. And the idea of L'Oreal's grad scheme is it's a fast track to leadership. So it makes you an all-rounder. It's 18 months long. And I actually only started 2 months ago. So I'm in my first rotation. And then I'll do another 2 in completely different functions. So currently I'm in consumer and market insights, and it's all about being consumer centric. And rather than working on one brand, I work across all the brands in the business, mainly at the moment for skincare and makeup, but also fragrance. So the idea is that we're carrying out this research, we're connecting with our consumers to see if what our brands, basically, you know, there's so much, I could go into it for ages, but one aspect is if they're launching a campaign, does the consumer kind of perceive it in the way it's supposed to be, and does it resonate with the consumer? And if not, we feed back these insights to our brands to really facilitate their marketing strategies. So in this day and age of marketing, it's so consumer centric, so it's a really amazing area to work in, and you learn so much from it. So areas within marketing, because as I said, I really didn't I didn't know how many there were. So trade marketing, as I said, B2B, it's selling and it's building relationships with your customers and your clients. And then brand marketing is working, you know, kind of with the CMI team. Are you being consumer centric? How can you plan your marketing strategy around that? It's all about launches. So some people think it's the more creative side to it. And then you've got digital, and digital is such an exciting area. It's always changing. You know, we've gone from kind of, stop with my words, but there's search engine optimization, websites, digital emails, and it's all about collecting data now. So you can, again, as I say, be customer centric. And then another one, and the way kind of digital marketing is really heading is with AI. So as you can see on the screen, we've got at L'Oreal virtual try-ons, and also skin consultations. And with COVID, you know, you can't go into a store, you can't test foundation, is it the right colour? You can't speak to someone and say, oh, my skin's not great, what product should I use? So it's all about giving the consumers what they need and in a way that they can reach it and use it. And also with digital marketing, we're really going, the future of marketing is like a cookieless world. So it's about how can we collect data when we can't track people's cookies when you go on a website. So always learning, always, you know, coming up with new ideas and working with all the brands and the teams in the business to come up with new innovations. And then market research, as I said, market trends, what, you know, it could be anything from what skincare ingredients are trending, what consumers want. So skincare absolutely boomed in COVID. People were spending more time at home. They had more time to kind of have at-home spas, and they were really treating themselves to new and improved skincare products. And then social media is an area that I'm sure we're all aware of. But even this has seen a massive change in the last year. It's really gone from paid influencers to organic adverts on TikTok, and this has really shocked brands, and it's kind of made us refocus and think, okay, we don't need to invest as much money into Instagram because we're getting so many, we're getting so many mentions, and it's really driving engagement and purchases through TikTok. So again, staying on top of the market and how things are evolving. So Sabine asked us to talk about skill development, and this is really taking it back to basics from when I started as an intern. I spent about half an hour writing my first email because I didn't know whether you said hi, to, dear, like how professional do you go, which in hindsight should have taken me 30 seconds, but it's kind of those small things that you don't think about until you're in the working world. And then, as people have said, the dreaded word networking, but it's really not that bad. It's, how can you build your professional network? I'm lucky enough within L'Oreal, there's a huge network of people. I'm working with new people every day across different brands, but it's also really important to reach out to the agencies we work with because they are equally as important to the teams within the business. And then also innovation. And this isn't necessarily, what are you going to come up with that's really going to disrupt the market? It's also about, you could be new to a role and you could be new to the business, but you might see a way of doing something differently that can really drive simplicity, and then you can spend more time doing something else. So it really adds value to the business you're working for. And then using data tools and software, especially in the role I'm in now, there are just so many data tools. It was kind of overwhelming to begin with. I was like, oh my goodness, what do all these numbers mean? How do you use it? But it's a fantastic way to really connect with your market. And project management, you might do it at university if you're doing a group project or something. But when you're actually given the responsibility of taking a project to start to finish, connecting with all your stakeholders and really driving results, it's just a great feeling. It's a great skill to have. And then also presenting. I'd like to think when I was at uni and on placement, I'd kind of nailed the presenting in terms of standing in a room of people, making eye contact and really engaging with your audience, to now doing the grad scheme and it being all virtual. It's just a very different kind of presenting, and it's all something new to get used to and kind of develop. And so my top 3 tips. 1, because I know you guys are all maybe either looking at internships or your first graduate role or entry-level role. My crucial thing I would say is tailor every CV and cover letter you write to the company in the role. And it doesn't matter if it's a big company or if it's a small company, they're equally as important, and they want to know that you value them. And pick things exactly out of the role that you want to, that's why you want to work for them. That's something you want to kind of like introduce to yourself. But then also, as we've all said, it's about learning. And employers really appreciate the fact that you want to learn, and that, at the end of the day, if you leave university and you stop learning, you won't be able to add any value to the business because marketing is always developing. So it's really showing them that you want to learn and develop in your career, you'll stay up to date in the market, and crucially, that's a really great reason to employ someone. And then lastly, stay up to date with the industry and how it's evolving. So, I always stay up to date with the beauty industry because it's my passion and I love it. It doesn't seem like I'm going out of my way to read something, but it's also important to stay up to date with other industries. How can you learn from best practice from other industries? What are they doing that maybe you could kind of integrate into your role? But it's really important, and it's also a great talking point in interviews. So I hope that was helpful for you guys. And of course, connect with me on LinkedIn. I'd be more than happy to talk to anyone, whether you want to apply to L'Oreal or if you just want to know more about the industry. I'm always happy to help.
Thank you so much, Nicole, for the insight into the business insight in your role. And you clearly combined your passion for cosmetics and marketing. And it's similar to Amy. It doesn't feel like a job, does it? If you have your passion, and it's just great. Because I remember you last year in the classroom when we were talking about Nivea, and you just brought in various other cosmetic brands for examples. So absolutely brilliant. My question, we have a question from the audience. It was from Esme asking, when did you apply for the role as traineeship, or
for the intern, so was it the grad scheme? So I can talk about both actually. So when I applied for the internship was, gosh, that seems like a lifetime ago. It was this summer of first year. So I knew I wanted to work at L'Oreal. So I kept an eye out and I went onto their website, and they gave, you could like kind of sign up to get notified when the applications would open. So that was, applications opened, I think, late September, early October, but I know that's always changing. So key thing would be check the website. I know they brought it forward last year. And then for the grad scheme, if you're an intern, you could apply. It was, I think it was May time, because the internship finished end of June, beginning of July. So we did that all internally, but they do, of course, open up to external people. So if you're in your final year and you want to apply to that, that will be opening, I imagine, springtime. But again, you can like look at the website and contact anyone. And if you can't see it, feel free to contact me and I can ask someone, because someone will know.
Oh, thank you so much, Nicole. And we pass the message on, definitely. And you have had your internship at L'Oreal and you found it very valuable. So how is this different starting virtually now for your graduate post?
Yeah, it's very strange. It's difficult. I think the hardest thing would be to network, because a quick catch up, even, you know, I've got friends that did the internship and are now grads or entry level roles. And sometimes even calling them kind of seems like a meeting, because it's across Microsoft Teams and it just feels really professional. So I think it can be hard to reach out to someone and have what in real life would be quite a casual catch up, learn how they got to where they are. I'm lucky in my role because I work across the different brands. So I'm really hoping by July, when I move on to my next rotation, that we're back in the office, because it will definitely be easier to meet people. But yeah, I mean, there are some things I have to say are probably easier. Learning to use all the data tools was quite handy, being able to sit in front of your laptop and watch someone click. So there's pros and cons, but yeah, again, depends on the role, but it's something you get used to. And I'm sure everyone will have had plenty of Zoom calls with their friends, and it's not a big difference. You understand?
Oh, it's great to know that you still can connect with your office mates in this case. No, and just one last question. Regarding applications for L'Oreal. So did you tick all the single boxes on the application, or do you think students should just go for it and it doesn't matter so much about the experience and it's more about the attitude and the approach to learning?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. In L'Oreal, it's all about your personality. And it's actually something, I think we were maybe 3 months into the internship and they sent us a email, HR sent an email around, and it was basically telling us that they didn't look at our grades, they don't care about your A levels, they care about the person sat in front of them on the day, and that's really reassuring. And that's, you know, I love the fact I work for a company like that. It's not about the grades you have on paper, it's about the person, it's about their passion for the industry. So yeah, and again, you know, even if it's maybe not what you think is your passion at the moment. I applied to BMW for an internship, and truthfully, I wasn't hugely passionate about cars, but it was something that I was still interested in. So don't be put off by the fact, you know, if you're a guy, there are plenty of guys that work in the industry. Don't be put off by the fact if you don't put makeup on every day, that's not a passion. It's not about that. So yeah, there's no limits on it. Work experience always helps as a talking point, but you know, COVID, employers know that you're not likely to have that experience, just because it's such a difficult time. So yeah, there's definitely no limits on applying.
Thank you so much, Nicole. And Nicole is joining us later for the panel discussion as well. So if there are more questions for Nicole, please keep them posted. Thank you so much for joining us.
No problem.
Okay. So and I would like to introduce to you Amelia Chambers, and I first met her about 8 years ago when you were working for the Lincolnshire Show brand as a marketing manager. And yeah, your journey has been quite different. You stayed in Lincoln as well, and following St. Barnabas Hospice, you have been award-winning last year quite a few times. Was it 6 awards?
9.
9
awards.
Oh, my goodness!
I know, it was a pretty crazy year.
Please tell us more about how to win 9 awards in a global pandemic. No, we would like to know more about your journey.
I can mention the awards as well, don't worry.
Yeah, yes, please.
Hello, everyone. As been said, my name is Amelia. I work for St. Barnabas Hospice, but I did meet Sabine probably 8 years ago or more. In fact, I got a notification today that it's 12 years since I started my first job in marketing at the New Theatre Royal, and I was fresh out of uni. And I've had a few roles, not many roles, but I have stayed in Lincoln. And from studying performing arts and English literature, not marketing, at university, I then went on to progress into marketing and journalism, and found myself in a theatre, but instead of on the stage, actually working in the marketing department and loving it. And that first role was just a marketing assistant, and I did everything. Although we say that marketing isn't just posters and sticking and licking, I was actually mainly on posters, my first job, but it obviously has progressed since then. So I started out in the theatre, and then I moved on to a marketing role at the Lincolnshire Showground. So I was used to promoting events and large mass participation events and quite glamorous theatre events and concerts, those kinds of things. And I've been lucky enough to have sort of variety of material to market, not just memberships to those places, but really sort of glamorous, sexy kinds of things. And then I got a job at the hospice. And people might think, why did you move from entertainment and theatre into working for a hospice? So you may or may not know about St. Barnabas if you're thinking about going to the university in Lincoln, but the hospice has been running for nearly 40 years. I've actually been touched by the hospice myself. Loved ones have been cared for there. And I had a specific interest in it and thought I could really get my teeth stuck into something new when I returned for maternity leave back into full-time work. I will say that my child is running around, and if he comes in, I'm really sorry. So I work at the hospice, which is a third sector, and it's very unique, like nothing I've ever experienced, because people share their successes. So not just within the organisation, but there is a huge network of hospices, and because we don't go on each other's patches, everybody is keen to share how things have gone, whether they've gone really well, or, as Rachel mentioned at the beginning, sometimes they don't go very well, but they're happy to share that as well, which is amazing. So yeah, I absolutely love it, and I'm a massive advocate for working for third sector, because it's really special and really lovely and really close to your heart. And I think Amy presented earlier, and she's so passionate, and I'm massively passionate about third sector and hospice care, because yes, it's quite warm and fuzzy. Sometimes people are quite scared about it and think, oh gosh, they're going to talk about death. But actually, when you get into the real meaning behind hospice care, it's about living each moment to the best of your ability, and that's what hospice care is about. So these people within hospice care are so inspiring, and yeah, they're really special and gives me great material to promote, which is really lovely. So I haven't got any slides, but I would I was going to present with a video, but I have decided not to because we only had a few minutes to present. But I would ask you to go onto St. Barnabas website and actually have a look at the couple of videos that we've got, which is a huge part of my role, and that's speaking to patients and their family members, which is at the heart of what hospice care does, and it's the heart of what we market. The reason we have to market the hospice is because we are only part funded, so we have to raise awareness of hospice care. so we can gain donors and they can support the hospice. In fact, we have to fundraise nearly 6.5 million a year to be able to care for over 10,500 people a year. So it's a lot on my shoulders and our team's shoulders and the fundraising department's shoulders to bring that cash in. But people inspire us, which is amazing. And I remember on my first week, I was speaking to my boss, and because I was quite nervous because I was going to do my first interview with a patient and their family, and they'd obviously got an end-of-life diagnosis and they were dealing with that. And I was really nervous, and I said, I don't know whether I can do this. I'm quite an emotional person. And she said, that's why we chose you, because you're passionate, but you've got empathy and you have to care about this to be able to speak to those people and be honest and get that across on camera. So that's what I did, and that's what you'll see on our website is people's stories, because you couldn't write how amazing these people's experiences are, where they've given them hope and they've given them a great experience with their loved ones in the last weeks of their lives. So that's quite special to me. So I just wanted to explain a little bit about the hospice and why it's so special to market. My job is, yes, interviewing, but my job is massive, and I have an amazing team around me, and we just get stuck in. We're very small. I spoke at a national conference the other week, and I followed Save the Children, and they're my sort of aspirational, incredible charity. They have great content. Definitely go and look at what they do. But she was talking about the fact that they had 20 something different departments, marketing departments. And there's only 3 of us at St Barnabas, so it was quite a different pitch that I was explaining. But yeah, it's nitty gritty. We do PR, we do comms, we do digital marketing, which is massive now. I do training with the wider team, and we get involved in fundraising. Yes, I do the interviews as well. I get involved in everything. The hospice isn't just the hospice. We have the retail department, the lottery department, fundraising, trusts and grants, IT, and then we have the clinical team, which are really inspirational. So I work with all of them to tell their story, to support them, market what they're doing. I get involved sometimes when we're fundraising. I haven't jumped out of a plane yet. I'm not doing that. But yeah, my responsibility is to support everything that they do. So to tell those stories, whether that's on social media, through advertising, especially digital advertising, and everything in between. In fact, I haven't got anything, and this wasn't planned, which is weird because I'm at my home office and I've got a bottle of gin on my desk. But we even made gin. So fundraising has been turned upside down during the pandemic, and we were lucky enough to partner with Pin Gin, which is a local distillery, and make our own gin, which has raised thousands of pounds for the hospice. But it's about thinking about what you're doing and planning ahead, which is so important. And unless there's a pandemic and then you rip it up and throw it over your shoulder and start again, which is exactly what we needed to do, because all of our fundraising and marketing was surrounding live events like the Colour Dash, Moonlight Walk, beautiful big events that encourage people to go and spend money. We couldn't do, so we had to start again, and it started with gin, which is great. Yeah, so I would just finish with some top tips, and I think they've probably already been covered, which is great because we're all singing from the same hymn sheet. And I think that the first one is, don't get stuck in a rut. Don't think, well, we did this last year, so we're going to do it again, because it just won't work. You've got to look at your results. We are constantly reviewing what we're doing, and that's what's great about digital marketing, is you see those results coming in thick and fast. If you've done an event, whether that's live, whether that's virtual, whether you've put in a campaign out there, whether you've written an appeal letter and you think it's emotive, if it's not bringing in the money or it's not working, then you don't do it again and you think of something else, and you look what your competitors are doing. And in the case of hospice care, is you speak to your peers, which is this huge network of not just marketing, but everybody who comes together just to support the hospice movement, which is brilliant. always be open to new ideas. So that's a little bit more for my wider team. When I said, I know we will make some gin, and they thought that I was a bit bonkers, but well, myself and my manager thought we were a bit bonkers, but we weren't, and it worked. And it's about doing those things, about breaking the boundaries, going, right, well, what can we do to inspire people, different people, to get on board with your brand and with your organisation, with your business. And the last thing is celebrate your success, because sometimes marketing departments not get left behind, but it's not like sales. It's not got those figures. You've not got those budgets, those targets to hit. And sometimes you can be a little bit forgotten. And I'm a big advocate for shouting loud about what we do. And I do that a lot on LinkedIn. So please, like everyone else, send me an invite and we'll connect, and you can see a little bit about the hospice and what we do. But as Sabine mentioned, we did win 9 awards last year, which is a little bit crazy, but it was because we did a strategy, and we looked and we said we need to be celebrated, not just as a marketing department, but as an organisation. Our hospice is brilliant, and we should be winning awards. So I actually tasked somebody I work with called Hannah, and she's absolutely brilliant at writing, at copywriting, and that was her new job role, was see if you can win us any awards with these applications, and she won 9. So so she was amazing. So yeah, I think that's it really. Don't get stuck in a rut. Always be open to new ideas, and celebrate any little win within your team or of what you're doing, because marketing's brilliant, and it's fast paced and it's fast moving, and don't forget how important you are to your business, your organisation that you're part of. So that's that.
Thank you so much, Amelia. Wow. I know we know each other for a long time, but your work at the hospice really made a difference, not just to your team there, but also to the patients and everyone knowing about this. So since you have joined the St. Barnabas hospice, I heard more and more about this. Colleagues of yours joined us actually at the Lincoln International Business School for some talks, and I just loving it, because students are not really aware of the third sector and whether to go into for any roles at all. They're usually looking at big company names or smaller businesses as well. So it's really good to hear that you have creative freedom, that you can be bold.
Yeah.
And that you can try different things. Who thought about gin? Really?
I did, clearly. No, I think that just to add to it is that you do have creative freedom, but there is an element of trust there. You know, that I had to earn that trust before they would let me go off and do crazy things. But it is about shouting about what they do. And a hospice isn't just one building, and often you'll speak to somebody in the street and their family or their wider network will have been touched by a hospice. So it's actually great to be part of that and to celebrate that. And I have met some incredible people. I've worked there for 2 years, and the people that I've met, that I've spoken to, whether that's a family member that's lost somebody that's died in the care of the hospice, or whether it's a patient, which can be very, very emotive, who's been given an end of life diagnosis and knows that you know, there isn't a cure, but they are so passionate. I mean, I've met a guy called John, and he's incredible. He's on Twitter, and I tweet him all the time. But he has a palliative diagnosis, but he has decided that he is so passionate about the care that he's been given by the hospice. He now wants to fundraise for the hospice. So him and his 4 sons are doing crazy, well, before the pandemic, like crazy mud runs, those kinds of things. And he was training, even though he was poorly, to be able to complete this. I mean, who wouldn't want to tell that story? Yeah, it's amazing, and it isn't just a recruitment drive, but honestly, hospice care is an amazing thing, and the being involved in it it shouldn't be something that you don't consider.
Oh, thank you so much for the insight. So going back, you said usually fundraising was 3 events, the Color Dash, which I know loads of people participated, and how did you get? How did you come up with new ideas? How did you just have transformative thoughts? What else can we do? We can't do the live events, so it must have been a shock to you. So
it was a shock, and it was scary because, as I said, you know, you've got a fundraising target of 6.5 million. You know that those big events are going to drive a lot of that through, and that was just taken away from us and the retail team. All of the shops were shut, so that's 30 shops immediately shut as well. So that's another income stream gone. But what we did was we looked at trends. That first lockdown, people were keen to get fit. We all had great intentions. We were all going to get fit. We were all going to do all of these amazing things. We were all baking, and so we ran a virtual bike race, and we had people in their 80s doing this who were biking 100 kilometers over a month or over a week or whatever the challenge and it was called On Your Bike. And we also had 4 and 5 year olds who had also just learnt to ride their bikes, also doing it. And we raised a phenomenal 40-something thousand from people doing that. And it was about following trends. How are we going to tick that box and reach people? We also did a virtual torchlight procession because we knew how special that was to people within Lincolnshire. Usually we see 2,000 people walk through the streets of Lincoln holding flaming torches. How we get this past, I don't know. Flaming torches, which each symbolise somebody who's died, which is incredibly emotive. And how are we going to transfer that into a virtual event and then again get people to be that moved, donate? But we did it, and it's been so hard. But I feel we're stronger for it. So it's just about looking what your competitors are doing. I often don't look what hospices are doing. I listen and learn from them, but I look at those nationals because they're on my doorstep. You know, Macmillan, Cancer Research, they're on my patch. Another hospice isn't. So it's often looking wider afield as well.
Oh, thank you so much for expanding on the different events you're doing as well. So when the pandemic is over, and I'm staying positive that we will be back out there. So you could have the events and also alongside online events as well. So you actually broaden your experience and what you can offer in order to help your fundraising goals.
Yeah, we've done the virtual so well, we've given ourselves more work because they want to do both now, which is brilliant. But it will be back. We will do live events again, but we may change it up because people have changed. You know, we're 2 years on now of when we're going to do it. We've got a fantastic year next year of different celebrations for 40 years of hospice care for St Barnabas, and we are partnering with lots and lots of different organisations to celebrate that. So there's never a dull moment.
Perfect. I'm really looking forward to hearing more about the amazing events you do, and I'm following you, I think, on all social medias anyway. So thank you so much for your talk today, and hopefully we have you later on at the panel discussion as well. Thank you. So we're almost not at the end, but we're with our last presenter for today. This is Lucy Robinson, and Lucy has been sitting on the chairs at the university in my last years, went out, had an internship as well, and now she returned, not to the university, but to our talk this evening as a digital marketing executive. Lucy, we're looking forward to hearing more about your journey and about your top tips you have for our students. Thank you.
Thanks. So I only graduated last year, so I'm pretty new to the real world. But so far it's been good so far. So September 2017 is when I started the business and marketing course. Up on that, I know no one. It was really daunting. I had really bad social anxiety at the time, and I was so worried. I didn't know anyone, and from day dot, we just got put into groups. You know, you've got to socialise straight away. You're getting thrown in the deep end. But now, I feel like that has really helped with my later career, because now I can get on the phone to anyone, I can speak to anyone, and it's not really a problem. You still get those little bit of nerves like here and there, but I think it's so good to have that confidence to be able to go out and make connections and network. and it's vital, really. I mean, for my job, we're an agency, so we take on clients of all sectors, all services, all small and big, so you really have to have the confidence to go out and meet new clients, meet new connections. But starting on with this journey, so September 2017 is when I started on my course. In September 2018, I then changed from business and marketing to advertising and marketing. I just felt like I wanted to go down more of the creative route. We did economics or something in first year, and I'll be honest, it scared the hell out of me. It was not my strong point, nor was finance. I think, like Amy said, accountancy is not a strong point, and same with me. But also, I wouldn't get disheartened by that. I think everybody has their strengths and what they're good at, and they have the things that, they're not so good at. But also, I don't think anyone expects you to be a perfect all-rounder. We all excel in certain areas, and you've just got to go off your strengths, really, and use it to your advantage. But July 2019, so I spent pretty much the entire of 2018, 2019 applying for internships. It really drained me to the core, to be honest. I don't know if anyone here has applied for any internships yet, but it is so time consuming, and a lot of the time you're going to get rejected. It is rejection after rejection after rejection. And when you're spending sort of like 4 or 5 hours on each application, it really, it is disheartening when you get that email saying, sorry, you've not been successful this time. Because you feel like you've not even had the chance at that point to even display your personality, say anything about yourself. It's just, a piece of paper or a form. But what I would say is, don't just look at the large companies that are offering internships. Also look at some of the smaller businesses. So I put some posts out myself on LinkedIn, which you definitely need to get onto. I've been approached for all of my jobs pretty much on LinkedIn. You do need to put yourself out there. No one's going to come knocking on your door. But I found my internship through LinkedIn. At the time, I was quite naive. I thought, well, it's quite a small business. Don't want that. I want something a lot bigger. And really, you need to get out of that mindset if you're in that mindset. Because looking back, I mean, they were really good to me at this internship. I had a great time, and ultimately they offered me a graduate job, which then coming into June 2020, I lost because of the pandemic. Not good timing. I did have some other interviews lined up as well. I think always keep your options open too. The other interviews all got cancelled. In fact, I found out all of this on the same day, and I was just absolutely devastated. I was so upset. I think as well, so much effort goes into not only doing your degree, but getting to the stage where you've even got accepted onto your degree. So there's so much years of work and dedication that goes on to get to the stage where you were, where I was even. And I just, at that point I thought, there's no jobs there. All this has been for nothing. I've wasted my time. I've tried this hard, and I just honestly felt like everything was against me at that point. I really thought the odds were stacked against me. But I put out on LinkedIn a post sort of explaining my situation, explaining that I'd just finished my degree and I was looking for something. And within, I think it was about 2 weeks, I got contacted by IOCA. Again, I'd never heard of them, quite a smaller business to some of the perhaps companies that I'd set my sights on. I had a couple of interviews with them and I got the job. So I think, between like a 2-week period of time, I'd gone from like crying in my bedroom to having a glass of Prosecco outside. It was, I think sometimes you have to trust the process, trust what's going to happen, just work hard. And even if things might not turn out as you expected it to, it will all come together in the end. And, as long as you're working hard and putting the effort in, then it will, something will happen for you. But, you have got to put the effort in on your side, obviously. July, I got my results back and got first class honours. Scraped it, to be honest, but nevertheless, I was sat here when I found out, and it was just, yeah, a massive high for me. It was really good. I have said in there, so my advice, get on LinkedIn, which, you know, if you're not on there, honestly, it's been a saviour for me. You meet so many connections. I found clients through there. I found my jobs through there. Yeah, I spend more time on LinkedIn nowadays than I spend on Facebook or Instagram. And I would say enroll on the Lincoln Award too. It wasn't very time consuming. I think some people have a perception of, oh, I've not got the time to do it. I was personally like working my part-time job, and I was at uni, and I did that, and it really didn't take that much time, but it was really beneficial, because even though at the time I thought, oh, I've got work experience, I don't need to do this. It really helped when it came to like the interview process. So they gave a lot of tips and advice for the interview process, which I think has helped me later on in life. Going on to then my work experience and my university experience. So I've had quite a few part-time jobs throughout from my life. I say that, I'm only 22. But I've also sort of ran my own little business on the side. It not a huge thing, just a nice little project for myself. And really it kind of got me to grips with social media before I started any of my degree or went into detail with social media marketing. So it really sort of gave me that basics to go off. My internship was at Camageo. So Camageo are a tourism marketing company. Definitely not in my comfort zone. I didn't know anything. Tourism is mainly specialises in Africa. I've never been to Africa. I don't know a lot about Africa, about the countries, about the tourism there. It was completely new to me. But I think don't rule yourself out to something that you're not familiar with, because now I could tell you a lot about Camageo and about Africa and why you should go there for your travels. So yeah, don't have tunnel vision when you go into internships and anything like that. Have yourself open to different opportunities. They're not going to expect you to walk in and know everything, but just be open to learning. With university, so in my final year, I chose rather to do a dissertation to do a consultancy project, which was done with the NHS. Very stressful, but I wouldn't regret it at all. I think dissertation's fair enough. Like if that's something that you choose to do and you want to do, absolutely. Like you've got to choose what works best for you. But personally, for me, I've always been quite practical rather than academic, and I wanted the experience to go on my CV, and that really helped. I had a lot of interviews where one of the main focus of sort of them questioning me about my experience was based on the NHS consultancy project. So I would definitely say, if you haven't already chosen, it's a great option. Also, if you get any chances to do any live projects, so I with a fantastic group of people, we did David Lloyd Leisure Clubs for a media planning project. That was really helpful too. We got to go in, meet the manager of the club, and actually sort of put your theory to work. And it also comes together in that sense. University, the skills I learned, so organisation. I've always been very organised, sometimes too organised, to be honest. But I do think, it's not a case of sacrificing your social life or doing anything along those lines. Just plan your time effectively, work things out. You can even have a few naps. I certainly did. But as long as you know you've got your schedule sorted and you're on top of things, you're going to be fine. And it reduces your stress so much. Branding. I don't know if any of you know Tracy Miller, absolutely fantastic. But in business and advertising final year, we did branding, and Tracy talked us through all that, and that was really good. It's a really good basis to go off as well. Once you know a company's brand, you know what marketing channels are relevant to them. So I know for us at IASEA, we wouldn't advertise on something like TikTok. We target sort of quite corporate companies. We like to have a professional image basically on social media, and TikTok for us wouldn't align with that image, nor would it reach relevant customers to us. Creativity, I say sometimes this isn't a skill that can be learned, but just make yourself more open to different ideas and thinking outside of the box. You know, don't ever be afraid to sort of speak out on an idea because you think people might think that it's stupid. Chances are it's not. And even if it is a bit wacky, it might then, somebody might suggest something a little bit tamer, but going off of what you first said. So, you know, yeah, always think outside of the box. It's what sets you apart at the end of the day. Teamwork, you're going to have to learn to get on with everyone. You will come across some people that are not as easy to work with at uni, and you'll come across people that are an absolute dream. You've just got to sort of learn to work with everyone, and it really does help once you get into an actual career. You're going to meet all sorts of people from all sorts of different walks of life, and all with different skill sets. And I would say, to be honest, when you're doing any group projects, focus on what everyone is good at and use that to your advantage. There's no point asking somebody to do something that they aren't sort of skilled in. And likewise, you know, if you're not skilled perhaps in something, you know, learn to do it, but also put yourself forward for the things that you are good at. Resilience, times might get a little bit tough, but you have just got to just fight through it, really. I know, like I said, when sort of the pandemic hit and I lost my jobs, for me, I was so taken back by that. I was so upset. You can't just throw the towel in. You've really got to just keep going through it. And if you hit sort of a wall in trying to find a job, and especially now with the pandemic, you might be thinking, oh, there's not a lot of jobs out there. And chances are there might not be as many jobs as there would have been pre-COVID, but they are still out there. And if you really put yourself out there and sort of try and get the experience behind you, you will get something. And even if it's not now or tomorrow or next year, just keep trying out and you will eventually get, you know, the job that you deserve. Confidence, like I say, you've got to put yourself out there. It might be really uncomfortable, but it will be beneficial to you. Resolving conflict with teamwork. I worked in some groups where there was quite a lot of conflict. You know, we had different opinions, but also it's learning to understand that you're not always right either. I know with myself, I might have one idea and somebody might have another. That doesn't mean that they're wrong and I'm right. It means that we need to work together to find a resolution to this. Strategies, you know, you sort of at uni learn the ins and outs of different strategies, the theory behind them, which is great. The next step is about putting it into practice. The psychology of it, and I love psychology. To be fair, before I ended up doing a marketing degree, I was going around the University of Derby and De Montfort and all sorts to do psychology and criminology. Somehow I ended up here, but it's all worked out. But like biobehaviour and the ins and outs of learning how your customers think is really important. There's not a one-size-fits-all approach to marketing, and I think you really need to tailor everything you do to your audience, to their needs. And yeah, so moving on to my role at the moment. So I'm digital marketing executive for ISEA. We're an e-commerce agency, so effectively we help businesses with all sides of their business, which is online. So whether that be social media, Google Ads, a website, any designs for the website, even print design. SEO is a big part of my job now. I knew next to nothing about it when I started. I was very honest about that as well. You know, just sort of, if there's anything that you're not familiar with when you do start your job, be honest about it. Because now I've had the training and most of my job revolves around SEO, which, yeah, it's really exciting. It's a real mix of different roles within my job, and we work with such an amazing range of clients. some really small, some really big, but all unique and all just, great clients to work with. So yeah, in terms of skills, we've got e-commerce in there. SEO, like I say, didn't know a lot about that. Communication, we've always got to be on the ball with communication, especially now working from home. I mean, we've been working from home almost the whole time that I've been at ISEA, bar a few months where we were in the office. So you've got to make sure you really keep everybody up to date. We all deal with clients sometimes with different aspects. So the website development team might communicate with a client, but then from the digital marketing side, we also communicate with them. So it's important to keep everybody in the loop so that nothing gets lost in translation, and also like everyone's aware of what everyone's doing, so nothing gets done twice or done the wrong way. Building relationships with your clients. I have so many clients now that I can ring to and talk about my daily life, but I've never seen them. And I think there is an extent that you need to be professional in your job, but there's also an extent where you also need to be personable. And I think clients appreciate somebody that they can talk to, who they can relate to, and who actually sort of understands them, doesn't put on a fake voice on the phone, and is just real. Google Ads, that's another one. So we're a Google partner at ISEA, which means we set up Google Ads for all sorts of different clients. Sales, we get involved with sales quite a bit as well. Just looking for leads, really, creating prospects. Analytics wasn't my strong point when I started. I've never been as knowledgeable with the data side of things and numbers. I'm very much creative writing, not numbers, but analytics, I've really got to grips with that now. So it's a great way, to be honest. I really look forward every month to putting our reports together for our clients, because it's just actually seeing the results of the marketing that you're doing. And then social media marketing, it is more than just putting out a post on Facebook. There's so much that goes on behind it, so much thought that goes on behind it, there's strategy behind it. I know when I first started at ISEA, I thought I was quite knowledgeable with social media. I didn't know we had to put together a whole plan for every month and schedule all our content and whatnot. I thought we just think of something and we post it. No, now I would know that's not the case. But I think as well, like, be prepared when you finish uni. I thought I knew a lot, and there was a lot that I didn't know. There's still not a lot that I don't know. It's just a continual learning process, which takes us on nicely to self-reflection, which is just recognising the things that you're good at and the things that you could improve at, and sort of just doing your best to, if you do identify things that you're not as competent at, just doing extra things that you can do to be competent at it. Nobody's ever going to judge you for saying, oh, could you give me a little bit of help with this? I'm not 100% sure. They'll actually appreciate you sort of taking the time to learn something new. So we work with a whole load of different clients, all sorts of different sectors, sizes, blah, blah, blah. It's great working for an agency because you have so much variation in your job. It's not something I've considered before, but it's definitely something that I think I've made the right choice with. And then, so things to remember when you're trying to start your career, I would say have more faith in yourself and your ability. I think with some graduate jobs and internships, especially when you can see the number of people that's applied for them, you're thinking, well, I've not got a chance. I don't stand a chance at all amongst 10,000 people. Don't talk yourself out of it. You're just as worthy as anyone else. And yeah, there probably will be someone better out there, but that doesn't mean to say that you've not got so much going for you. And everybody's unique, and just because you might think somebody's better than you, you're probably, who somebody else looks up to. So don't ever talk yourself out of an opportunity just because you think there'll be someone better out there. And I sort of touched on this before, but don't be knocked about by rejections. I applied for hundreds of internships and graduate jobs, and I got rejected from most of them. But in the end, it all worked out. So don't let it dishearten you. It's completely normal. And everything will work out in the end. and things to look for in a graduate job. So this is going off my own experience as well, because I was guilty of this. But salary, don't just look at salary and think, no, I wanted a bit more than that. I know now I'm on more than when I started. That's probably the same for most jobs. There's growth opportunities. You've only just come out of university. Even at the time I thought, I knew quite a lot, like I should maybe get paid X amount. There's still a lot of things you don't know, and chances are somebody's not going to take on a graduate at an incredible salary. I think, just get on the ladder, and once you get on the ladder and once you prove yourself, then you open yourself up to those new opportunities in terms of salary. Location wise as well, I was very much in the mind frame of, all the good jobs are in London, or they're in Manchester, or the big cities. They're not. I mean, there are great jobs there also, but actually look a bit closer to home as well, and you might find something that's really good. Image and size, again, I know when I was looking for a job, I wanted a big brand, a big company that I could sort of be like, I work for these, because you put so much work in and you do want to feel like you've done something amazing afterwards. But actually, that doesn't really matter. I think, just getting a really nice company, a company where there's opportunities for growth. I know with ICA, they are just an absolute dream to work for. Such a friendly team, amazing sort of opportunities for growth. And now I know that I was wrong to initially just look for something big. Job title as well. Don't just go off what is a fancy job title. If it means going off to assistant, that's where you have to start. And also, in terms of job title, don't as well just look for graduate jobs. The job that I started off wasn't a graduate job. So don't sort of have tunnel vision in thinking I need to only have a graduate job. Then values, that is something that you should look for. A business that treats you well, a business that actually sees potential in you. I know that our owner, Isaiah, he really sort of makes a point all the time about investing in people and not buying people. He takes people on that he thinks could go far and that really want to work hard and that bring value to his business ultimately. Opportunities, look for somewhere where you can grow, where you can develop. In terms of training, look for somewhere as well that will teach you things as you go. It doesn't expect you to come straight into the role knowing everything. And then in terms of support, somebody who will sort of guide you along the way and just be really supportive of you and your journey. So my top 3 pieces of advice would be to build your CV, especially now with the pandemic. The job market is more competitive than it ever has been, so you need to make sure that you stand out. Definitely get some work experience, even if it's not relevant to your job. I mean, ideally it would be, but even if there's something just to show that you've got a work ethic behind you, like a good work ethic, will be really beneficial to you. Be visible, get your name out in front of people on LinkedIn. I've always actually been really shy, and I know it doesn't feel nice sort of hyping yourself up as such. Sometimes it's very uncomfortable to do so, but if you do want people to recognise you, you've got to do that. But as well, be personable, like I said before, show your personality. You've not got to be some robot that knows everything. You've also got to show a little bit of character about yourself. And just work hard. I've said on this, I wasn't a model student. Probably my attendance wasn't 100%. I wish it was, but no. But I think as long as you're motivated and you're productive and you put 110% into everything, you will go far. And yeah, I think don't ever beat yourself up if you're not the most academic of people. As long as you really just try and take hold of any opportunity that comes your way, it'll take you a long way. So yeah, best of luck to everyone that is graduating this year or sort of starting out in their career changes. if anyone is looking for experience at all, please do get in contact with me. I've put my email address on there and my LinkedIn account. We are offering some experience at the moment with ISEA, and I'm taking people under my wing personally. But as well, our business details are on there as well. Have a look at us, see what we're about, and yeah, best of luck to everyone who's starting out. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Lucy. It was very interesting, and because I was part of your journey in year 2 and year 3, it just let me think back of what we did. We worked together on the David Lloyd Club media plan, and I can just say Lucy used to grab every opportunity we offered her, and this is something we can just recommend to every student. So if there's an opportunity to work with an organization, just please get engaged, do the extra step. And I know, Lucy, that sometimes it was a bit more work and coordination involved in this, especially with the NHS consultancy project as well.
Oh.
But it was worth it at the end, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. It was very, very stressful at the time, but in the end, it's all worked out.
And I must commend you, because you actually moving into areas you had little knowledge on, looking at your internship, and you just made it. You just grown with the role, as well with your role now at ISEA. How do you do it? Do you just go for it, or do you think this through?
I think I've just never blocked myself off to anything. I know in the past I have been turned down from some, when I've had interviews, they've turned me down because they said you don't know what you want. And the truth is that I know what I want, but I'm not going to close myself off to anything. So I'm just focused on something specific, because I think especially now when there's, a competitive job market, you've got to be open to so many different things. And I've just always been open to anything. In the past, in my jobs, I've just done all sorts. So yeah, take it my stride, really.
Yeah, great. You also mentioned about personal values, which are quite important. But how have you got any tips how to find your own personal values? And would you look for organizations who match those values as well?
I think sometimes you can almost tell. You get a gut instinct with certain businesses. You get, especially now it is a little bit harder because you can't go in for interviews, but you almost get a vibe of the company culture as soon as you're there. And I think I know with my company that I'm at now, everybody is just one big supportive team, and I really loved that. And there's no sort of big show-offs, or I've never had any conflict with anyone in my job, just because everyone is just so nice. And for me, that was a big thing for me. Because I've always been very supportive of my friends and my colleagues and my team members, and I wanted somebody who would treat me with that same sort of friendly and welcoming approach. So
a good tip here would be to research the company culture as well.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I would say, this is not always the case, but be wary. If a company have a high turnover of employees, that is something to be mindful of. There's a reason why people are leaving, and just sort of take that into consideration.
Thank you so much, Lucy. I would like to invite all our panel members back to discuss the skill set of the modern marketer and take any questions we have. Hello, and thank you so much this evening for giving us insights into the skill set and your own journeys as well. It has been very inspiring so far, learning about the third sector, starting up their own company, looking at L'Oreal and the graduate scheme. And Rachel just summarized the skills we should have. And based on this, on skills, we already had a question from one of the audience members who's asking how much of academic knowledge is needed in a job, or is this more based on experiences? So can I put the question to Amy? Do you use any academic frameworks or theories you had knowledge of during your study?
I would say they're equally as important, because day to day you do use those frameworks, whether it's subconsciously, you do. And I've actually created my own framework called the Wallis Whirl with my business coach. So we now have our own framework, which I'm really excited about. But I think you can't be a marketer if you don't have the underpinning skills. Equally, you can't do your practical job day to day if you only have that theoretical knowledge. So I think being able, especially with the strategy side of things, and a lot of us have all said that strategy always changes, and Amelia rightly said earlier that you can't be complacent with one strategy. So I think having that framework, the theoretical frameworks behind you to be able to make that point, it's always really helpful.
Thank you, Amy. Can we hear from Nicole? Do you use any frameworks from your marketing degree in your traineeship at the moment?
What I think is actually interesting, when I did my placement year, so as an intern in trade marketing, I finished that and I was like, I really didn't use much theory from uni. But then I'm now currently in consumer and market insights. And you do notice you're using a lot more of the theory, and it's not necessarily frameworks as such, but all the market research, the different types of studies, collecting data, analysing it. So I think it really depends on the area of marketing you're in, and also if you want to use it. Like if you went out of your way to use a theory in something, no one's going to stop you. So if there's a particular theory that you want to integrate into your work, go for it. So I think it's also down to you. So yeah, down to the area of work you're in, but down to the individual.
Thank you, Nicole. Could I ask Lucy the same question? I know you're working as a digital marketing executive, and it's focused mainly on digital content, SEO. So is there any underlying theories or frameworks you would follow, or is it just general practical knowledge?
I think, to be honest, something that we've been looking at a lot recently has been like the buyer behavior side of things, and actually looking at how our customers think and how they sort of looking at our website from their perspective, looking at what we think could stand out to them to sort of bring clients on board. So it has been, yeah, more of looking at the like sort of psychology side of things. But I think looking at like the marketing mix and just understanding the communications mix as well, that the one targeted approach isn't always the way. You know, we need to target different sort of use different strategies into one, basically. And yeah. I guess it all sort of underlies, like Amy said, you need to sort of have the theoretical side of things to go off, and I think naturally it's almost in your head. It's not so much conscious, but you know what you've learned over the past however long you've been studying, and it is all just sort of in your mind when you're coming up with decisions and when you're making decisions. So it's not always conscious, but it helps.
So it's in the back of your mind, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you. And Rachel, you showed us the core skills of a marketeer when looking at the CIM overview, and in the middle it was a customer centric approach, or championing the customers, the strategy and branding, I would say. Was it?
It was, and I'm just double checking, it's insights.
Insights.
Yeah, insight, championing the customer and strategy are at the centre, and then around that there's a range of other things. But I think it's really important. You know, a lot of employers you know, will tell me that they use the models that we're teaching, you know, and that CIM covers. And I think even if it's just that those models give you the confidence in your job, you might not be physically using those models every day, but they almost give you a mental checklist, don't they? And the things that you need to think about. So I do think that they're really important to have. Although I think we've lost Sabine.
Hopefully she'll be back in a moment.
She's steering the ship.
I think that was a really good point, Lucy, when you said that it's not just about thinking about clients. You also need to think about yourself as well with the different frameworks.
Yeah, definitely.
I'd say one
sorry.
model. No, I was going to say one model that I have actually used quite a lot is the decision-making purchase. Is that how you say it? Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And high involvement and low involvement. That's actually the one that's kind of stood out to me the most, that is kind of reoccurring. So it's probably, that's the most used framework from my job role at the moment.
Yeah, sorry guys, I was gone for a minute. Thank you so much for looking at this. And I just seen we had a comment from Lucy as well. I can't see it at the moment because there we go. So Lucy is asking, would you say it's easy to change career after having a degree in a different field? She's studying international business, but is interested in marketing. Amelia, you had a different.
Yeah, I did this.
You did this and it worked.
But, yeah, so I would say yes. I think if you're passionate about it and you're willing to learn, which is what a lot of marketing is about getting stuck in and learning what field you're in, then you can do that. And for me, it was about starting at the bottom and just working my way up, and understanding what I was trying to market. And yeah, I mean, I had a particular interest in it because I did English literature and it had a journalism module, which then inspired me to then go into marketing. But there are other courses out there that can supplement your degree to give you that insight so you can go into a job and feel more confident. And I think obviously, you know, that's why they're out there, and I would highly recommend it. But there are great blogs out there to inspire you. You can look at if it's a certain type of marketing that you're interested in, digital marketing. You could then look at different agencies, see what they're doing, if it's a specific craft that you're looking for. But for me, because it's quite a wide range of marketing that I went into, but I had a love of it as well because it was theatre. It almost was more natural for me to do that. But I would definitely say it's not too late to think, right, okay, well, I'm going to have to then start from scratch. You learn so much within a degree anyway. I think you grow so much in those 3 years that then going into marketing was quite natural for me anyway.
Thank you, Amelia. And it highlights as well that if Lucy has a business degree, she will have the skills of organization, planning, and what Rachel has talked about earlier. And Rachel, can the CIM help if people want to have a little career change?
Absolutely. And I think you're right. I think if you've got a business degree, it is really, I mean, I didn't do my undergraduate degree in marketing. I know a lot of people who haven't done that, and Amelia and I think have had a very similar career trajectory. It's really bizarre. But what you're saying, really, I kind of looked at journalism and thought that would be the route for me. And because I liked writing and was quite organised, marketing then kind of opened up as a career. And then an employer actually funded me to do the CIM level 7 qualification as it was, but there are a range of different qualifications. The way that a lot of the marketing qualifications are delivered now are quite flexible as well, and a lot of employers tend to be, I think, quite supportive of you doing them and working on them. And I think those qualifications maybe actually just give you the confidence. And I think, like anything, like these events now, it's so nice to meet other people working in the field and learning from them. And I think that membership organisations like that in marketing, I think they're really good for that. And you know, meeting people and saying, I've got this problem, what do you do about it? So absolutely, I think if you've got an undergraduate degree, that's a really good starting point. And if you're interested in marketing, I would just be looking proactively at kind of opportunities and roles and the types of skills you need to start kind of developing your confidence. Yeah, and this really summarizes what we talked about earlier, the power of learning and having the attitude towards growing and learning constantly. So
So there should be options available for you.
Oh, absolutely, and it's definitely worth looking at the CIM and looking at, you know, kind of qualifications and things that are on offer, you know, because I think it would really maybe give you some confidence beyond your degree.
Or you could also go down the route like Lucy and having a personal brand and being very active on LinkedIn in order to get herself out in order to be approached for different jobs. Lucy, have you got any tips on creating a branding?
I would say, sort of get yourself out there on LinkedIn, but in terms of moving into a field that is relevant but perhaps different to the one that's to the degree that we're studying, which was it again?
International business,
wasn't it? Sorry. Yeah, so I looked at like individual courses online. So I actually did a course in visual merchandising before I started my job. I did a course in SEO. You don't need to spend mega bucks. Even to be fair, you can get so many free courses. I'd have a look definitely on HubSpot and on Google, anything extra that you can add to your CV. And even if you're not looking to sort of change career path, it's always good to get different understanding of different areas of business as well, aside from the one that you're working in.
Okay, so we have time for one more question. And we have one from Atushtalk. So marketing is an area which is constantly developing and sees lots of disruption. How much as a marketer we need to focus upon the trends and rivals for the best results? So Amy, I'm going to pose the question to you. You're your own boss. So what do? Do you focus on the trends and competitors in the market?
Definitely. I think it would be stupid not to, especially with marketing. It's very much about the consumer, the target audience. Everything has to evolve to what's going on in the world. So as Amelia was saying earlier, COVID hit, people wanted to be healthy, didn't they? So you launched the On the Bike campaign, which I loved. So I think you have to know what's going on around the world so that people actually resonate with you. And something that we actually pushed this time last week was we pushed National Toast Day. And as you know, there's a massive influx of bread making due to COVID. So we really looked in on those trends. And in the end, we reached 39 billion people across the globe, which was insane. So we really looked into those trends on the day so that we could get even more reach. So I think never be complacent and always remember your target consumer as an avatar, and they're constantly adapting. So you need to adapt your marketing with it.
Thank you, Amy. Amelia, have you got any more tips on looking at trends?
Well, I think, as Amy said, the pandemic's thrown so many weird and wonderful trends that people have been doing. One of them drinking gin, another one riding bikes. But yeah, something that we've always done, and I've always done wherever I've worked, is obviously look at your competitors and have those people that you aspire to be as well, and look what they're doing, and just not be humble and think, oh well, we're only a small business, or I'm only one person, I can't make a difference with this. You really can, and there's some little nuggets there. I mean, I always look at people like Macmillan and think, wow, that, you know, they are a force to be reckoned with. But there are things that I can take away from that and learn from that. And if you can just come away with a few takeaways, think, right, okay, we can probably try this in our campaign, although my budget is this big and their budget is this big, it can make a difference. But I think, as Rachel said at the beginning, you sometimes think you're onto something and it can really flop. So I think that's something as well about marketing, is you've just got to try, and if you've got to try those things, and sometimes it's a gut feeling that actually this could work, and sometimes it's that you've got those stats behind it to say it should work, and sometimes it doesn't. And I think you've got to have that ability to kind of take it on the chin and go, right, let's keep going, let's try something else. So yeah, that's what we do anyway, and that's what I say to the wider team is, look what other people are doing, what inspires you, what looks good, what doesn't look good. Come back and let's put this all together, and that's how the strategy is formed, not by just you going, right, well, this is me and this is how I think it's going to go. You have to look wider than that. So yeah.
So absolutely. So we need people to throw our ideas off and bounce back and develop. We're coming to the end of our session, and I would like to summarize the main 5 takeaways. I know there are many more, and you shared all your top tips with the audience, which is absolutely amazing. So one of my first takeaway is to understand the developments in marketing. So as we just discussed, trends and where we are going and how it can benefit you. So when looking at LinkedIn, as Lucy mentioned, ideal platform in order to get the word out, to get yourself out as well, and might being approached by companies. Second one is to look at your personal values. This is something which Amy has mentioned as well. Find your purpose, what drives you in order to achieve what you want to do. So maybe planning ahead, as Rachel mentioned in her presentation, maybe looking at the personal development plan, or maybe looking whether you might want a business mentor or peer mentor to look at your career and any challenges you might have. The third one is embrace learning. We are on a lifelong learning journey, and it won't stop after the university. So we keep going, and it could be through the CIM, through webinars, through just joining others online and sharing ideas. So always keep learning. And this leads me to point number 4. It's get to know people. I'm not saying networking now, because we heard it might not be the best, but get to know people and connect. And some of you have done so already this evening. So we very welcome you to our network, which might be helpful later on as well for you. And we would like to get to know you too. So, and one which is really close to my heart is changing the face of marketing, actually. I would like to educate people that marketing is not just a coloring in exercise, that it's so much more. We heard from Nicole that she's looking at analytics, insights, and therefore shaping campaigns from L'Oreal. We heard about Lucy having so many clients now and doing everything digital, which she didn't think she would do, but she wasn't afraid to take it on. And so I feel we all have the responsibility to change the face of marketing and show how broad actually marketing is. So hopefully you found the talk inspiring, and on behalf of the Lincoln International Business School and all the lovely speakers, Lucy, Amy, Amelia, Rachel, and Nicole, we thank you for your engagement this evening, and hopefully see you soon. Thank you so much.